are young, it's going to test your faith even more. So I want you to listen to a few things that Daniel did to overcome this situation that he found himself in. He didn't find himself there willingly. He was an unwilling participant in what was about to happen. But he kept his faith no matter what the situation. And that's what I want to talk to you about this morning, young people and old people as well, is keeping your faith in unfamiliar situations. And you will face those unfamiliar situations. When we encounter new situations or unfamiliar situations, we're going to face a test to walk with God in a strange land. Folks, our scripture this morning introduces us to Daniel and some of his friends who were carried off in captivity to Babylon. They didn't go there for spring break. They didn't go there for winter break. They didn't go there for Easter vacation. They didn't go there between semesters. They went there because they were led off into captivity, and they were going to be faced with new situations. These young men had grown up around Jerusalem, where they were constantly reminded about God through both His Word and through the worship in His temple. Young people, it's easy to be godly in the presence of God's people. If you don't believe that, ask some of these older folks. It's very easy to act godly in the presence of godly people. We seldom ever have problems in the church with ungodly acts during a worship service. Seldom do they happen. But every single day when we're not around God's people, we become victims to the situations that we find ourselves in. Simply because we don't have that constant reminder about God. We don't have that constant reminder about His love. We don't have that constant reminder of other strong Christians influencing our life. We're out there on our own. So instead of being surrounded by a culture that supported walking with God, and folks, that's one reason to come to church. The church should have a supportive culture that helps you walk with God, helps you learn how to be strong, to learn how to be a disciple of God, how to have faith in Him. But instead of being surrounded by that culture, they found themselves in not a spiritual nation, but a pagan nation. Surrounded by pagan practices and people. Y'all know what pagan is? Young people, do you know what pagan is? If you don't know what it is, that's somebody that just has absolutely nothing to do with God. They just go out and do whatever they want to do. Pretty much just push Him aside. In fact, they may never have been introduced to Him. When you're surrounded by a situation such as that, guess what rubs off on you? The pagan practices. The pagan worships. They begin to rub off on you, and it may be slow at start. Let me just take the word pagan out and insert another word that you know better. It's called sin. When we associate ourselves with sin, sin rubs off on us. Judy has a cat. The cat stays in the house a little, except when she escapes. But that cat is shedding right now. Do y'all know what cat hair looks like on a blue suit? That cat sits down in my recliner. And I sat down down in that recliner, I think it was last week, with a pair of black pants on, and every one of those cat hair just attached itself, and I'm not going to show you where. But that cat hair is just like sin. We're in a pagan nation, we're in a sinful nation that has no concept of or no desire to worship God. And they're doing everything that they can to have fun and be all that they can be. They're drinking, they're carousing, they're running around, they're doing all of those things that you think are just bad. And guess what? When you walk down the street, that's like that cat hair. It jumps on a blue suit. It jumps on a black suit. Now you can't see it too bad on khaki, so maybe I need to wear khaki. But it jumps on there and it clings there, and eventually it may only be one or two hairs that you get on you, but eventually you get a lot of hairs. That sin begins to show, it begins to be evident in your life. And what happens is that you slowly exchange your love of God and your desire to serve Him for cat hair. Or sin. Or paganism. And it happens why? Not because you're a bad person, but because who you're associating with. There's one thing I need to tell you, young people. Pick your friends wisely. Pick them wisely. Don't pick someone that's going to bring you down. And if you have someone that you're buddies with now that's bringing you down to their level, get rid of them. You don't need that help. Daniel and his friends were in that nation, surrounded by pagan practices. They had a king that was going to reprogram them. Look at verse 4, where it says that he's going to give them I think it's a 3-year teaching, is that what it says? And 3 years of training. These guys and gals just received a full scholarship to Babylon State University. They were going to be indoctrinated into the ways and into the culture and into the language of this people. The bad thing was he had no choice but to go. He found himself in a new location with no one watching him and his actions, and the opportunity for temptation was great. I'm sure living in a pagan nation, there were a lot of pluses that he saw there. Even though he had been schooled in Jerusalem, even though he had worshipped in the synagogue, even though he knew God's Word, there were still some things that were going to pull him. And folks, in our society today, the opportunity for temptation is great. We spend more time lately on the news media talking about selling wine in grocery stores than we do talking about how God is making a difference. I challenge you to watch the news program and just see how many times that a good thing that a Christian has done makes the news. The only time that I know of a church making the news is when it's either washed away by a flood or blown away by a tornado or it burns down. You don't see on the news young people in Nashville serving God at the Youth Evangelism Conference. If you do, it's a quick sound bite and it's gone. But you'll see where a handful of youth, now how many were there, Jim? Do you not remember your buck? A bunch. The Youth Evangelism Conference in Nashville, at the Municipal Auditorium, and I'm sure it was full at least once or twice. But you take a group like that should have commanded some time on the air. But they won't get the time, but you take a group of kids who get in trouble, they'll get the time. Folks, the temptation is there. No one's watching. And the opportunity is great. And I'm here to tell you this morning, if you read a little further, you'll find that Daniel remembered that God was there. Sometimes older folks forget that. You think, and I've told you this several times, that people will hide things when the preacher comes to visit.